Hey everybody, it's Jody here with Wild Home Educator. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some beginning handwriting programs where you might start in your homeschool journey. Here we have Handwriting with Tears, my first school book. Super fun. Next we have the new Charlotte Mason, Simply Charlotte Mason Classic Capitals. And we have the Good and the Beautiful Handwriting for Kindergarten. First, we're going to talk about Handwriting with Tears. I absolutely love this program for teaching handwriting. There's lots of fun little extras that you can do. I was really surprised with talking with some other homeschool moms that they didn't know exactly how they're supposed to use this book and was just using it like a workbook and not including some of the hands-on stuff. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The beginning pages have a lot of coloring and just practicing different types of lines and getting them ready and kind of just into the groove with handwriting. It starts out with teaching, letters that you can make, which is big line, little line, and they break down all of their letters with talking about big line, big curve, little curve. And it just kind of simplifies the process. So there they show you at the top how to build the letter, how to use it on the chalkboard, and then they're going to do some little tracing exercises. They also have them trace some shapes and things like that that kind of correspond with some letters that they're learning. There's a little bit of phonics in there, like C for car or otter for O and things like that. And it's just really fun. We've done this. I did this with my son and my daughter. My son's still working through this one. We ended up doing 3 handwriting books for K with my daughter. We were able to get through my first school book, Kickstart K, and Letters and Numbers for me from the time she was kind of just before starting kindergarten all the way through K. And, her handwriting was great, and you're really just trying to focus on letter formation and just having them remember that process of making each letter. So here you see Handwriting with Tears doing some of their diagonal letters. And again, they emphasize building the letter and what lines are used, and then you're going to build it on the chalkboard. The cool part about the chalkboard is that it's the biggest thing that you need. You don't need all the wooden blocks. You don't necessarily need to do all the method, but I think the chalkboard is really important because it really mimics the way the pencil feels on the paper. So they also recommend doing a wet dry try. So you get a little tiny piece of a sponge that you wet and you build the letter with the little tiny wet sponge. And when they're pinching this little sponge, it's kind of mimicking also a pencil grip. So it's helping strengthen those finger muscles for holding a pencil properly. And then they also have you build it on the chalkboard. The cool part about this is they can use the shape of the chalkboard and they can use the edges to kind of make straight lines, and it just makes them so happy when they can write a letter and it looks good to them. Both my kids were a little bit perfectionist when it comes to handwriting, so it's tough. They also recommend on using short pencils because it helps them focus on holding it towards the bottom of the pencil. And they have the little smiley face at the top of the letter to show you where to start the letters. Like most letters start at the top, not all, but most. You can also get the wooden pieces that you can physically build the letter for a little hands-on thing. And if you buy the teacher's guide for Handwriting with Tears, it comes with templates for the wooden pieces. So you could also make copies and laminate them for your pieces. Next up, we have Simply Charlotte Mason Classic Capitals. Now, they are mimicking a little bit of the style with Handwriting with Tears, but it's a little bit different, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So this is a new program from Simply Charlotte Mason. I noticed they have 5 new handwriting books. It starts out with capital letters, then goes to lowercase letters, and then they do cursive and copy work, which is kind of part of the Charlotte Mason method. Here they show you, just the breakdown of the lessons and what order they're teaching the letters in. They start out with letters that are just made with simple lines. Instead of saying big line, little line, like they do in Handwriting with Tears, they're going to use the terminology, or words, vertical lines and horizontal lines, diagonal lines, instead of using big line, little line, big curve, little curve. And here they're just talking a little bit about pencil grip. You definitely want to encourage your child to do a pencil grip a proper pencil grip, even if it's tough for them at first. And I think the short pencils and things like that, or a short piece of chalk, really helps out with that. So here we're just practicing making vertical lines. And then on the next page, we're going to practice making horizontal lines. And they're going to practice wherever on the page. There's no lines in this one to be found anywhere. So if your kid hates tracing or they're getting frustrated because they're going outside the lines, this is a great way for them to just practice formation and not practice, having to do all the rules. Because that's more to focus on if they have to practice on getting in a particular box or tracing a perfect line. And here we're just talking about formation. So the lesson breaks down, it has a little QR code to a video that pops up on your phone, and it'll show them how to build the letter. And they can watch that little video if they want to beforehand. It also tells you to practice with the chalkboard and also practice using, sand, or you could maybe even use a boogie board to practice. Just different ways of practicing that letter before they go to the page. So in here you can see my son has had a lot of fun with this because he can just write as many letters all over the page, and it's actually encouraging him to write more instead of just doing a couple letters and being like, oh, I'm frustrated, or oh, I didn't make a perfect line. He's just going to town making all kinds of letters because he's just having fun writing it as big or small as he wants. And again, we're just trying to emphasize formation and understanding how to make each letter. So they start out with all the letters that you can make with simple lines, and then they go to, I believe, diagonal letters that are made with diagonal, and then they save the curved letters for the end for when they have, probably more strength in their hand and they're just getting used to writing. And after they go through the whole alphabet, they'll also go back and review in this book. So they'll have a couple pages towards the end where they're reviewing all the letters that they have learned and the formation that they've learned. And then I think there's a couple pages where they write it on lines as well, or start working on writing with lines. I did look at their lowercase book, and it also goes into, writing in between the two lines. So this is kind of fun, and we've been enjoying just sort of incorporating it for extra practice so we can change it up. And again, they recommend, writing letters in sand. I had these little formation cards that I got at Target or someplace. And so practice writing it in sand with your finger or pencil, and then practice also writing on the chalkboard, tiny chalkboard, which I love, which I think is one of the best genius handwriting ideas ever, is using the little slates. And those you can find at a big box craft store from like $2 to $5. And they're a great tool. I used them with my daughter and my son, and they both love it. So next up, we'll talk about the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. Now, they do have books that start out with a little bit slower pace, but we're talking kind of about kindergarten or beginner writer. So they do have the doodle books, and those go at a slower pace. I don't think there's much practice in them. It's just practicing tracing lines and things. Their kindergarten book jumps right into making letters, uppercase and lowercase, and it goes along with the alphabet. So it starts at A and goes to Z and then has them practice all the letters. I do love the Good and the Beautiful, how they incorporate fun little activities in their handwriting lessons, like drawing or tracing, or, by number exercises. It's just a lot of fun. And we did jump with my daughter to using the Good and the Beautiful for teaching cursive. I absolutely love their 3rd grade book that teaches cursive. It has a genius method for teaching cursive, so I definitely recommend it. Both my kids really didn't like tracing. My daughter also really didn't like arrows when it came to handwriting. It just was confusing for her, or just too much to look at. So that's why handwriting with tears was the best option for her. And I'll make another video kind of going through the progression of handwriting with tears and what that looks like when you go through the books, because each one progresses a little bit differently. But I love the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. If your kid can deal with arrows and lines and they love tracing, hey, it's perfect. Start with making both uppercase or lowercase. If they can't, try one of these other ones. So again, we had Handwriting with Tears, my first school book, Simply Charlotte Mason Classic Capitals, and the Good and the Beautiful Handwriting K. And these are just great handwriting programs to start with in your homeschool. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I love teaching handwriting. I think it's a lot of fun to incorporate into your homeschool day, and of course we want our kids to learn proper letter formation. See you next time.